Hey friends, so today we're going to be talking all about patterns, and it's our unit in math right now. So a pattern is something that follows a rule while repeating. So we have patterns and we have sequences. So a sequence is a set of objects in a specific order. So patterns have a sequence and the sequence show our patterns. So the parts of a pattern are called attributes. Attributes are a feature that you can use to describe and compare things. It's the thing that changes. So there's a bunch of different ways. Patterns can be colors, they can be shapes, they can be sizes, they can be numbers. And a way that we just tell our patterns is like we describe them sometimes by letters. So A is one object and B is another. But don't worry about that too much. Alright, so there's a bunch of different types of patterns. One big one is shape patterns. So they're just patterns that have shapes instead of numbers. So, when I look at this pattern, I'm going to think, okay, well, what do I notice? So patterns are a lot of like noticing and then seeing what comes next, thinking logically. So a pattern, and this is also important, a pattern needs to repeat at least 3 times to be a pattern. 3 things to be a pattern. So, look, we have like this third, this third, this third. So the third is moving to the left. So since this one, and this one match, I'm going to assume that the next one is this. And that's basically what I do with patterns. I look along the lines, I notice what's changing and what's staying the same, and then I take that information to, assume what's next. So for this one, it's a little different. It's not like one shape with different shades. It's star, 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 square, star, 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 square. I can assume, right, because I'm seeing star, 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 square, this is my sequence that's repeating, that the next part is going to be star, 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 square. This one is different. And okay, so friends, patterns really are just using the clues that we have to make an inference on what's happening next. Okay, so for this one I see heart, circle, triangle. Heart, heart, circle, circle, triangle, triangle. Heart, heart, heart. So in this one I see that this is my sequence, but I see that each time a new heart and circle and triangle get added. So there's 1, then there's 2, then there's 3, then there's 4. So I'm going to assume that there's 1, 2, 3 circles, and then 1, 2, 3 triangles. So friends, when you see shape patterns, you want to be thinking, hey, what comes next logically? The same thing happens with number patterns. So in number patterns, there are 2 ways that it could go. It could grow, or it could shrink. So we're going to talk about growing first. So when it grows, the number, and as the pattern go on, we get bigger numbers. So every pattern has a rule. So when I look at this, I'm trying to kind of guess and check the pattern rule. So what is the difference between these 2 numbers? Okay, so I'm thinking, okay, well, it's 2 sevens. So I'm adding 2 sevens. And I'm just going to keep going and making sure that it checks. Okay, so since this continues to be true, I know that this is the rule for my pattern. So the rule for this pattern is you add 2 sevens. And because that's what I'm doing, I know that to find the next one, I just have to add 2 sevens. So I know when I add, I do not change the denominator. It stays the same. And if I had 10 sevens, then I would have 12 sevens. That's my answer, and I'm good to go. This one, I'm going to try the same thing. Okay, so 70, how do I get here? I can add 630. Then I guess I could add 630 to get 1,030, and then I can... Okay, so right now I'm guessing and checking, and that doesn't make sense. So because that doesn't make sense, I'm going to erase that, and I'm going to go back and try to find a pattern that does make sense. because because all patterns are guessing and checking and seeing, hey, does this make sense with what I know? And that doesn't. So because it doesn't, I'm going to try multiplying. Okay, so to get here, I multiply by 10. And to get here, if I multiply by 10, I get 7,000. And then if I multiply by 10 again, I'd get 70,000. So this one checks out. So this rule is multiply. Cool. All right, and then the last thing that these number patterns can do is they can shrink. So again, I'm always going to think, hey, what is happening to this number? So when I go to this one, my first instinct is always subtraction because it's easier to guess and check if I know. So look. All right, so this is minus 10. The pattern still holds. If I subtract 10, okay, the pattern still makes sense. And that's how I'm doing it. I'm checking with the line of numbers that I'm given to see. So since this one makes sense, I'm good to go. I know my rule. I know my missing number. Okay, so this one's minus 32. This is minus 16, minus 8, minus 4. All right, so I see that, my pattern really isn't working if I subtract. So I'm going to think, what do I divide? Okay, well, 64 divided by 2 is 32. And 32 divided by 2 is 16. And, since this pattern works, I know that I can continue it. And this equals 2. So friends, again, just a review. Patterns, tell us. Patterns make sense. Their goal is to help us find what is repeating. A pattern is just a sequence it's just a sequence of objects that repeat. And it's just a group of repeated objects that make sense. All right, bye.